Konnichiwa, Nihon Cricket Pod Yokoso. Welcome to the Japan Cricket Podcast. I've got my usual co-host, Todd Luckhurst, here with me, and actually in person. We're doing a podcast in person for the first time. And today we're joined by a special guest, Japan men's team captain, Kendel Kadowaki-Fleming. Morning, Kendel.
Morning, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Good to have you here in the recording from a slightly wet, soggy SICG on day 2 of the Embassy Cup. Good day yesterday. Day 1 managed to get all the games on despite a fair bit of weather. But regardless of that, it looks like today is going to be a bit of a washout. I guess we can cover that in another pod, Todd. I think since we've got Kendall here, it's only right to talk to him about the last 3 weeks in Oman. What do you reckon?
Most definitely.
Cool. Okay, well, last time we spoke was after the Samoa game.
Yes, we haven't had a chat since, the small game.
I think we were feeling very positive and happy at that point.
Things were good, things were looking well, and some good results.
So Kendall, I guess we'll get your take since you're here on those first few weeks, arriving in Oman, what it was like, and the warm-up games, and that obviously the big day against Kuwait. Because we'll start with sort of first impressions on Oman. What did you make of it as a country, the tour and the facility?
Yeah, firstly, obviously it's awesome to be able to travel the world playing cricket and representing Japan and Oman. I'd never been to that part of the world before, really, apart from a couple of trips sort of popping into Dubai. So to go there was a great experience. Scenery was really nice. I personally really love the architecture, the buildings around the place.
Did you get up into any of the forts?
Yeah, I did. So a couple of rest days we had, we sort of walked around the old town and a few of those sorts of, a couple of forts. So there was a similar one in Sri Lanka, and I think there was some weird connection between the two. There was some reference to the Sri Lankan forts.
We'll have to get Alex Patmore on to explain
Yeah,
it, shall we?
exactly. But quite mountainous, which was a bit of a surprise. We spoke about that in Oman as well. But the first striking thing to me was the heat. Obviously, for the players coming from Japan, there was obviously some experience of playing in the heat and being around the heat, especially during July. But the heat was the first thing that struck me, and then the facility itself was great. 2 world-class cricket grounds, some of the strongest lights in the region as well, and good practice facilities. So no, it was they were the first impressions I had.
I was talking about the heat. I was telling Todd yesterday about Duncan's throwing stick melting in the one of the practice sessions. We had to put it in the esky. So yeah, it gives some idea of how hot it was. And then with those first couple of practice games, UAE was I can't remember the order. Was it UAE first and then Samoa, or the other way around? Can't remember.
Samoa first and then UAE. I probably split the full trip into 3 different phases of how we sort of went about it. And I think in those first 2 practice matches and then the initial pool matches, I thought we were right up for it. And I thought we played some of the best cricket we ever have as a team. Obviously, we didn't get the results in all those games, but to have tight matches against UAE and Nepal, who were probably the 2 strongest teams there, and then wins against Samoa and Kuwait. Yeah, I thought that we strung together some really good cricket, and obviously we earned the right to play in the Super 6 stage after that.
So I remember speaking to you after I reckon it was after the Nepal game, and you said that you reckon it was probably the 4 best performances in a row that we've ever put in, just bettering it each time from the warm-up games, obviously through to that Kuwait game, sort of a pinnacle.
Yeah.
I mean, just talk us through that a little bit. We just spoke as we were walking up here about sort of expectations going into the tournament and sort of how that developed, I guess, over the course of the 3 weeks that we were there. Going into it, what was the feeling amongst the team, and what was your feeling personally?
So we actually made it a stated goal to make it to the Super 6 stage, which I think can be quite rare at times to put such a prescriptive goal of a team out there, and to verbalize that. But I think the nature of the competition, the format was quite cutthroat, I would say. And, I understand the challenges of having 9 teams and trying to create a reasonable tournament with those constraints. But to basically have the possibility of only playing 2 matches in a 2-week period was pretty daunting to me personally. So we did make it a goal that we would make it through the Super Sixes, which would give us an additional 4 matches at that tournament. And obviously, one of the challenges we face as a national team is that we don't get the amount of cricket that a lot of these countries do, and especially against the stronger opponents. And so I think just being able to play 4 more matches against strong opponents was a really good carrot for us. And we're able to achieve that goal, which is really pleasing. And then from there, obviously, once you make it to that stage, half the teams from the Super Sixes are going to the World Cup. So the goalpost moved a little bit. And to be honest, everyone was believing and dreaming of what we could have done from that point.
Yeah, I think which probably is worth tucking into that Q8 game in a little bit more detail. They've batted first and put up 177, I think it was.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're opening the batting. What was your feeling at the turn? Did you think that this was a chaseable target? You're a bit sort of daunted. I mean, you came out and went pretty hard.
Yeah. I remember thinking it was probably around the 17th or 18th over of their innings. I just thought they've grabbed the momentum a little bit and they've probably got 15 to 20 too many, or it was looking that way. Like I thought 160 was a pretty chaseable total, and that was what I had in my head, probably at the 10 over mark at the drinks break of our fielding innings. They obviously have power throughout their batting order, and I actually think they might have had maybe the second or third best batting team in the tournament. So 177 or thereabouts from memory is what they got. I did think we could do it, but I thought that a lot of things had to go right. And to be honest, I was putting a bit of pressure on myself to not only get us off to a good start, but to put a pretty big dent in the chase. Unfortunately, I got run out for around 30 off the bowler's hand. So one of those really unlucky ones.
First time that's happened?
First time it's happened in at least 5 years, I would say. Yeah, I can't remember the last time.
I mean, it nearly happened 4 balls earlier as well.
It did, yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things that sometimes happens in cricket. I wasn't beating myself up too much about it, but quite frustrating because it felt like I was batting quite well. So, but yeah, for the other boys to step up, we had a couple of partnerships in there. I thought Subbo batted really well, anchoring the chase at the end. Eason, he started his T20I career really well for us, and was a contributor throughout the tournament. But yeah, we had other people step up throughout, and to be honest, it was under control for most of the day, wasn't it? Most of the chase. So the most pleasing win that I've ever been a part of, for sure.
Yeah, and that's what was going to be my next question around seeing those guys stepping up. And from your point of view, and I think from a lot of people who've followed the Japan cricket team, it's a bit like, well, we need Kendel to get runs if we're going to make a proper total. So to see others step in, you've made 20, 30, and yet we still chased down 180 is an incredible statement to make as a team, I think. And I think a lot of people watching the tournament kind of sat up when we won that game and like, oh, this Japan team's, they mean business. And I think that I think I said at the time, you don't fluke a chase of 180. Usually in an upset, there's one team just falls over and the team scrapes home. But to go out and chase 180 with almost an over to spare was a pretty big statement. And then we carried that into the following game, right? The Samoa game was I spoke to you a few days later. It was a bit of an emotionally draining one. The injury to Sabaric and the 17th, 18th over going for whatever it did, 26. Suddenly brought things back into focus a little bit, but managed to get over the line. What was the feeling amongst the group? I wasn't there, so you have to tell me the feeling amongst the group for that one.
Yeah, it was draining, and I feel like we had quite a few games where the momentum was turning throughout the games. I definitely recall thinking that game had slipped our grasp at that point, but things can change really quickly in T20, and that's what we say out there to ourselves, whether negative or positive. You never want to get too far ahead of yourself when you're on top, and obviously the other way, because someone like Shoma can step up with the over that he did at the end, and win the game for us. So yeah, that was a really pleasing win as well. And as I said, I think we strung 4 really good performances together, and I think by that point people were taking us seriously. And for the first time, I think I'd heard people talking about our batting, saying it was our strength, and that people were genuinely impressed and concerned about our batting coming up against us. So that was really pleasing.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of names in there, sort of Shoma, Sugai Slater's 19, Declan Suzuki McCombs 22. I know death bowling has been something that you've talked about a lot and trying to sort of find the right combination. The way that those two stepped up throughout the tournament has got to be a real pleasing thing for you and two young kids as well. Sort of showing what they can deliver in pressure moments as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'll add Charlie Hurricanes to that as well, 17-year-old who bowled a really impressive over against Samoa late in the innings as well. I think he's capable of bowling deep into the T20s. So and up top in the power plays as well. So three kids basically who have a really long future ahead for Japan, hopefully. And yeah, I think they stepped up at different moments. It's sort of coming back to what I said before, you never want to get too ahead of yourself, because a few days later, I think Sharma bowled an over where he didn't quite nail some of the things he was trying to nail, but he didn't miss by much. Like sometimes you can bowl decent balls and get hit for 6, and other times you might miss a little bit, and the batters are expecting something else and they'll miss it. So, yeah, I thought that hopefully it was a great learning curve for those guys as well. And Dex really embraced that role. There are a couple of games where he didn't come on until after the 15th over, but he still was really strong when he did come on. So, yeah.
Now, unfortunately, you said that we have to split the tournament into 3 sections, so I guess we have to talk about the third section, which was those last 3 games, which all started with that. We had a rest day after the Samoa game, and then we were into that game against Qatar. You know, a team ranked 29 in the world, and themselves would have had realistic ambitions of getting to the World Cup. Pretty experienced coaching staff, guys that we know, guys like Toby Bailey, Brent Arnell, guys that we've seen around the circuit in the past. So that was a game which again was another draining one. Went to the last over.
Yeah.
What are your memories on that, and how do you sort of review that afterwards?
Yeah, so I probably put the Qatar game and the second Samoa game into the second category, where I think that we didn't play our best cricket, but we fought really hard and we were still really competitive. So I think that's almost the most pleasing, when you don't play your best, but you can still find ways to win. And that's what we did against Samoa in the Super 6. And then against Qatar, we didn't bowl our best, we didn't bat our best, but we still put ourselves in a position where I felt like we were on top in a really key moment. So, yeah, that was really disappointing to lose that game, to say the least. I think that would have set us up pretty well, where we would have had to win one of our last 2 matches to progress. And I think obviously we lost those 2 matches, but I think if that result does go our way, we're probably in a different space mentally, and yeah, we might have found something. But honestly, on reflection, I think everyone was pretty devastated by that loss, because I think we did have these really tough, close matches, and then to be in a position where you think, oh, like we can beat these guys. And I'm sure you guys felt the same, like you on the sidelines and you, Toddy, watching from Australia. But yeah, that one hurt.
It's one of those things. I think looking back at what happened afterwards, you know, there's still a lot of positives to take, even from those 2 defeats against UAE and Oman. You know, in both games, we've slipped to like 50 for 8 or something, and still managed to make it to 100. You know, Miyauchi's innings against UAE was a huge positive for me, and a glimpse of, you know, hopefully a bit of a breakthrough innings for him. And then even against Oman, you know, we managed to scrap pretty much about the overs and get to 3 figures. Like, you do see associate teams falling over sometimes, and we didn't do that. And we gave ourselves something to bowl at. And actually, Oman, with our lowest score of the tournament, was 103 or something, and it still took him until like the 17th over to chase it. So, just signs that you know, we keep on fighting as a team and keep remaining competitive. And I think that as we look sort of to the next cycle, you know, talking about the average age of the team is pretty encouraging. And as you mentioned, there's sort of 3 or 4 kids in there. I guess one person we have to speak about, you know him very well, is Ibi Takahashi, who had quite the impact throughout the tournament with his batting and with the ball as well, but primarily playing those cameos down the back end of the innings. I know you've had some chats with him over in Brisbane around his batting, and he's gone from some extremes in red ball cricket to some fine performances with the white ball. What's it like working with Ibi and getting the best out of him?
Yeah, no, it's a challenge at times, to be honest, but there's a lot to work with. Like, he loves his cricket, very enthusiastic, and he's got a lot of talent as well, bat and ball. Not the most talented fielder, but I'll keep working on that one. But yeah, I love working with Ibi, and obviously being in Brisbane, he's actually coming across to my club, Norths, which is slowly building a Japanese base there. But yeah, I think what Dougal's done really well and what we've started to establish in the team are really specific roles for players. And we touched on it with Deck as a death bowler. And I think Ibby is a bit of a finisher for us with the bat and a bit of a pinch hitter as well against spin. If we need some impetus in the middle of the innings, he's someone that we can go to. And yeah, I thought the way that he stepped up, he batted with a lot of clarity, which hasn't always been the case with him. You know, we have shuffled him around the order over the past 2 or 3 years, but I think now he's batting with a real sense of purpose when he goes out there. He knows that his job is to get the innings going, and we just want to encourage him to back himself. If he gets out playing a shot that's in his wheelhouse, then that's not an issue for us. So really pleasing. He had a lot of sixes across the tournament, and I thought he was actually pretty stiff to miss out on team of the tournament. So really pleased for Ibby, and hopefully that's the start of becoming the next finisher in world cricket.
One of the things I noticed with the challenges with the fixturing going to the next stage was the timing of games. So Alan was telling me that, even if you play an afternoon game, you're not getting back to your hotel till later in the evening, isn't it? Yeah. And then sometimes you've got a morning game. What's those challenges like in the group?
Yeah, it was tough. I think during the pool stage, we actually had a better draw at Kuwait. So it's something that we wanted to take advantage of. They played against Nepal in the night match, and then they had us the next afternoon. So they probably got back to their hotel after the night match at midnight. And Nepal had a lot of fans there as well. So it was quite cool to play in that in that atmosphere. But to come down from that sort of game and then get up early in the morning, which we probably had to leave for the afternoon game at
midday
or earlier even, but yeah, midday, we'll be ready to go in the morning, essentially. That would have been tough for them. And then we had that challenge, especially in the last 3 matches where we played 3 matches in 3 days. So yeah, it was difficult, but again, it's just the nature of the tournament. Everyone was dealing with those challenges. So yeah.
And then another challenge, of course, playing night games is the dew. Alan was saying that the ground was getting quite wet in the night game.
Yeah, so probably not as extreme as some of the conditions that we face in other places around the world. But the other thing is that a lot of our team hadn't been exposed to night cricket before. So that was a new challenge for a lot of our guys, not just with the dew, but also in terms of fielding under the lights and things like that. So yeah, the dew is a factor. It made the tosses probably more important, where I didn't have my best tournament. I think I won 1 from 6 tosses. So
5 in a row, I think.
5 in a row to finish the tournament, which is frustrating because as much as, I'll lie after the toss when I'm being interviewed, and I'll generally say I would have chosen to do whatever we get told to do. Like, some of those tosses were pretty big towards the back end of the tournament. So, I mean, it's just part of cricket, right? Like, there's not much I can do about that one. But yeah, that was a little bit frustrating.
Well, I did say India currently playing Australia, and apparently India lost the last 18 tosses in ODIs. So you've got a few to go now.
Yeah. So,
and in terms of the length of the tournament, there's a bit of wear and tear. When you play 8 matches, it's a lot. How do you think our team stacked up compared to some of the other teams as well? I mean, we saw Samoa were pretty much walking wounded by the end.
Yeah, so there's probably a couple of parts to that. I mean, we had a couple of contact injuries or sort of superficial injuries, I guess, with Sabo splitting his webbing, trying to take a catch, and Benny as well. He cut his hand open off the concrete, shown a finger. So there are a few non-soft tissue injuries that we had that were pretty sort of unfortunate, I would say. It is a challenge. I think being one of the couple of non-professional teams or non-contracted teams, we don't get that exposure to play cricket throughout the year and these longer tournaments, where some of these other players are jumping from tournament to tournament. Nepal, they played a 3-match tournament against, or 3-match series against the West Indies prior to that, where they actually beat the West Indies 2-1, and then played that 3-week tournament, and then straight into
games today, I think.
Yeah, they're playing matches against UAE and USA, I think now. So, and then there'll be the Gulf tournament, and then there'll be something else, and then there'll be the World Cup. So these guys just play a lot of cricket, and they're sort of more conditioned to be playing those. And But I think we have the potential with the athleticism in the squad to be one of the stronger teams at back ends of tournaments. It's just something that we need to keep working on. I think the inclusion of Devon now as our S&C is a really great appointment for the JCA, and I'm really excited for what he can bring to the programs across men's, women's, 19s, 16s. So I think come 2 years' time, we should be aiming to be one of the stronger teams at back ends of tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to sort of finish this off with what's next for you. I suppose one of those things is an under-19 World Cup. You just mentioned 19s. They've got a bit coming up.
Yeah, very excited to be part of the coaching staff for the 19s. It's a group that has a lot of talent, a lot of potential, and it's time to sort of turn that potential into results. I really believe that we can cause some upsets at the World Cup, and yeah, there's no reason why these guys can't I don't know, like make a statement, I think, at the World Cup. So yeah, I love coaching. Honestly, it's something that I'm quite passionate about. I'd love to explore it a little bit more down the line and keep upskilling in that area. But it's a great opportunity that I've got to work with this squad, and yeah, really keen to head over.
Any final thoughts, just any messages you want to send out to the support that we had? I know there was a lot of stuff going through social media, a lot of stuff. Any people who've spoken to you personally? I know, the JCA have received a lot of good comments, even just being here today. There's people coming up and saying, well done. Anything to say to those guys?
Yeah, definitely. Just very grateful for all the support that we've had over the last few weeks, and even in preparation for the tournament. A lot of people were reaching out, and I think we're quite excited to watch us play. So hopefully we made our supporters proud, especially early in the tournament. And yeah, it's something that we'll keep working towards. Hopefully, as I said, there's going to be another opportunity for us over the next couple of years, and yeah, please keep supporting us, stay on for the ride, and we'll keep working hard to make you guys proud.
Thank you, Kendel. Great to have you on. We will better be getting back to the Embassy Cup. Todd and I have to go and see if we can get some more cricket matches on. So thanks for joining, folks. Until next time, Otsko Samadeshta.